Welcome to the Heart for God podcast. With many years of experience pastoring and helping to start churches, Dr. Jim Townsley has some practical and biblical advice that can be a great help to you and your ministry. On this podcast, Dr. Townsley and other guests with special expertise cover a variety of topics. His goal is to help you lead your church to be a healthy, strong, and balanced ministry, and for your family to be happy, healthy, and living for the Lord.
Hey, thanks for joining us today for the podcast. I've been looking forward to this. We've been talking a little bit with Brother Paul, who's a missionary to Taiwan, and he's actually from our area. You grew up in Meriden, right?
I did, yeah. I grew up in Meriden, Connecticut, right down very close to Southington, actually.
Yeah, it's the next town over, for sure. But we're here in Oakland, Maryland, which is really West Virginia.
Yeah, it seems like that for sure.
But Brother Leatherman is a pastor at Mountain Lake Independent Baptist Church. I don't know how they fit that on the stationery. You know, that's a long name for a church.
It is, yeah.
But it has a great church and great ministry here, and they're having a booster conference, missions conference. And so Brother Paul and his wife Lisa and their son Langdon is here. And I'd just like to have you talk a little bit about what you've been doing and what your plans are for the future.
Sure. So we've been in missions now for 10 years if you include deputation, 7 years on the mainland. And then while we were there on the mainland, we just worked with another missionary and learned the language, learned the culture. We spent time, evangelizing, had, Bible studies in our home, handing out gospel tracts as we can, working in the church, teaching Sunday school, VBS Sundays, VBS type lessons, choir, all the stuff that you would imagine a missionary would do is what we were doing.
So the language you learned was?
So I learned Mandarin. Yeah. So I learned Mandarin. That'll be.
So how long did you really prepare? How long did it take to prepare you to be able to use the language? Was it a couple of years? And I know you're always learning.
Sure.
But
yeah, so it was probably about maybe 2.5 years before I was actually able to preach my first message without using any pronunciation guides or translation or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, it's a difficult language and the culture.
Yeah, the culture's definitely different than who we are as individualists. They're very communal, very honor shame, where we're law and justice. So it's a different understanding and mindset.
Sure. Yeah. And now you are making a change from where you were,
right,
the mainland, down to Taiwan.
Yes, sir.
And so tell me, what has brought your interest in Taiwan? Why have you felt led to go there?
Well, outside of just the obvious, we just couldn't get any visas while we were there in the mainland, good visas.
Oh, okay.
Taiwan was the next step. They speak Mandarin fluently. That's their language. Their main lingua franca is Mandarin, and they are Chinese by heritage. And so that was one of the doors that we're like, well, if we can't get this visa to stay here, we really would like to stay on the mission field. We want to work with the Chinese people still. And so we prayed and asked the Lord, hey, Lord, we really want to still work with the Chinese. Open us a door somewhere.
So it seems like the door is more open there. It's
right.
More westernized.
It is. It's more westernized. They're
more American.
Yeah, they're pro-America. They're a democratic society. So they're freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, everything that we would hold dear as Americans, they also hold dear.
Sure. And what is the population of Taiwan?
It's 23 million.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's the size. The island is the size of the state of Maryland, square miles. So 23 million fitting
pretty
Maryland.
Condensed.
Yes.
Pretty condensed.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, is it expensive to live there?
It's a little more expensive than we were on the mainland. Everything has to be imported. Land is scarce. Obviously, they import all their wheat, corn, soy. Everything's imported. So things are just a little more expensive because of that.
So what kind of churches are there now, and what influence is there for fundamental Bible-believing Christians?
Yeah, so there's not a huge influence. I mean, there's been missionaries that have been there for years. One missionary we know has been there 40 years, and he's planted 3 churches, mainly in the south of Taiwan, which is amazing. But when you look at, like the independent Baptist movement.
Let me stop you for a second. Just how, it's not America. This is a different world. Mm-hmm. So he started these churches. Do they get a national pastor? Or they have their own building or property? Are they in rented places? And how many people would be in the average church in Taiwan?
Sure. So it all varies. Some of the guys, the missionaries, have turned it over. They've all turned, almost all I know have turned them over to nationals. And some of them rent and some of them own. It just depends. Land being expensive, it's going to cost them a lot of money to buy. So they all do have national pastors that he's turned over. The one he's currently in is not, but he's turning it over. So what we've seen is it runs about 50 to maybe 80 people for a church, which is
pretty
significant.
good.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. Even in the States now, there's
Sure.
a lot of churches don't do any better than that. Some of them not as much. Yeah, that's pretty satisfying. In Japan, where my daughter is, it's not that great. A lot of churches have 15, 20 people. I just saw a card for a missionary in Japan that he's new there. He's trying to start a church in Hirosaki, and I met him while I was over there, and they had 1-2 people coming.
Sure.
I mean, they're just starting, but that's the reality.
Yeah, it is. It's a different world in Asia, especially Far East Asia, than what we would understand here in the West.
So with your background, what kind of gave you the burden for Asia, for the Far East? Where did that come from? It's just God impressed it on you? Were there circumstances?
Yeah, it was just God just impressed it on me. So I was called to preach in missions at the same time at 16 at Mount Santa Revival Grounds there in West Virginia. And at 18 at a missions conference in the church I grew up in Connecticut, I just prayed and asked the Lord that he would just reveal to me where he'd want me to do or what people he'd want me to work with before I went to college. And the Lord just placed the Chinese on my heart.
So right now you've got to raise additional support.
Yes, sir.
And you're hoping to get on the field when?
We're hoping to be on the field next May. Yes, sir.
5 or 6 months from now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as you go over there, what is your next plan? What is your next step? Once you get there, you got to find a place to rent? Do you already have a place? Or
Yeah, no. So we don't have a place. And really what we'll do is kind of like what we did on the mainland is just inviting people into our homes, building a Bible study, a core of believers, Bible study with them, lead them to the Lord, is the ultimate goal, obviously, and baptize, disciple them. And from that core is what we're hoping to it become a church. And just teaching them from the beginning indigenous church principles. Hey, this is yours. And it's your responsibility. Hey, let's find a building. Let's work together. Find a building. Let's pay for this. Let's work together as we do this.
Some of these places, there is no template to say, here's how it's done.
Right.
And New York City's that way. There's no template for New York City. It's just different, it's unique. And I feel like there's something to learn from the people who've been there, but
Sure.
There's probably a lot still that's unknown. It's like, let's try this. Let's do this, see if it works.
Right. Yes, sir. Yeah, it kind of seems where we're at. We've obviously taken advice from the missionaries that are there, and there's others just, okay, well, let's try this and see if it kicks off the ground.
Yeah. Well, it's been great to meet you, and
Yes, sir.
Your wife is very supportive. I can see she's very enthusiastic. And your son's a little bit quiet, but he's only 13. But he seems to be pretty serious about it too.
He is, yeah. He loves living in Asia. He has a burden for the Chinese speaking people.
And how is his Mandarin?
His Mandarin's okay. He can understand pretty well. His listening is probably better than his speaking. That's because he's 13. What 13-year-old wants to embarrass himself, right? And so but he spends time with the Chinese playing ball with them, and he gets along just fine.
That's terrific. And some kids 13 years old can't speak English, and they're in America.
Sure.
So that's really good, because if a missionary, and I've seen this happen, they go to a land like that, particularly Asia, and the kids are homeschooled and they don't learn the language, they're isolated.
Yeah.
They don't have friends that are Asian.
Right.
And they are not growing up American. They don't have friends in America.
Right. One of our main things we told him was like, look, you live here, you have to learn language. So even while we're here in the States, we have software that we're all going through. Okay, let's keep our Chinese up. Let's learn new words and
That's great.
and work on it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you're doing, and it's exciting to think there's a new pioneer area.
Yes, sir.
And you don't know what God's going to do.
Right. Yes, sir. We're excited for sure to see what he's going to do.
Well, thank you very much. And folks, thanks for listening today. Hope this has been a blessing and encouragement to you. God bless.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, consider sharing it with a friend. You can also follow at Dr. Townsley on Twitter or on Facebook at Jim Townsley.